An overused term, visionary, I mean. I've seen it attached to so many directors and so few of them strike a chord I'd call visionary. The first definition says, thinking about or planning a future with imagination or wisdom. Okay, that makes sense. A lot of great directors are able to do that. Another definition of its use as a noun says, a person with original ideas about what the future will or could be like. Okay, even fewer filmmakers fit that bill, but certainly some do. The final definition as an adjective reads, relating to or able to see visions in a dream or trance, or a supernatural apparition. That's David Lynch. Like Tom Waits did for me with music, David Lynch showed me the beauty in nightmares. Lynchian represents the indescribable relation to his arch dream logic, a surreal and trance-like tour through spiritual innocence and degradation, in a particularly American delirium. For as often as I've used the term Lynchian, every single one has reminded but not replicated, because Lynch rewrote the language of cinema in a way no one else even tried to. There's a preoccupation with understanding his work when it doesn't ask to be understood. His films tap into the horror and beauty of everyday life with such acute, hanging truth. I watched Eraserhead for the first time in years in 2024, a film so bleak about career, fatherhood, and love that the unattainable heaven clashes so distinctly with life's harsh reality, it forced me to take a walk. It's rare I'm so deeply affected by a film, especially one I've seen before, and yet I had to take a walk because there was such truth in its themes that a breather seemed involuntary. This obsession with the darkness underneath our daily routine continued for his entire career, as if he couldn't fathom how both existed within the same plane. Eraserhead divorced those perspectives, but his later films intertwined them to perplexing effect. Lynch's films grew unmistakably darker as he aged, and that previous quote is absolutely true. But it doesn't explain the man who cries every time he watches It's a Wonderful Life, or describes Mulholland Drive as about pure love, or the infamous I've had 2 cookies and a Coke, it's phenomenal meme, or honestly even the man who made The Straight Story. I don't think he ever let go of the beauty of a simple existence, even as he chose to end his films on darker and darker notes. The evil forces at the heart of a seemingly beautiful concept was what attracted me to Lynch in the first place. And it's true he stared deeper and deeper at it, and it seemed to complicate his own fears rather than solve them. I always wish we got one more film, but perhaps an 18-hour opus in the form of The Return is more than we could ever ask for. A stunning collection of what made him so great. His body of work, so unmistakable and idiosyncratic, drew admirers from Steven Spielberg to Stanley Kubrick. His films grow with you. Every time I've watched Mulholland Drive, I've thought I had a grasp on it only for one event or feeling to upend that. I originally saw Eraserhead as a darkly comic little fable, and it still is, if you could stomach it. And now I see it as a harrowing meditation on the life not lived and the carrots we promise the proletariat, knowing they won't catch them. Blue Velvet's resonance only deepens later in life. I saw it at a time that I was too willing to meet it at its text and just completely oblivious to much of its subtext. Now, having a better understanding of Lynch and of film history, it's much easier to appreciate the blending of melodrama, psychological horror, and film noir, in addition to all the things it's doing thematically in terms of the animal in every man, the seedy, nasty underbelly of a seemingly innocuous American life, and the masochistic, distinctly masculine psychosexual urge to demean, even as just the right balance could bring a tear to your eye. If all this sounds a little over-intellectualized, I agree. I have a feeling Lynch would tell me I didn't get the joke. I felt really, really sad when I heard about David Lynch's passing yesterday. I saw so many insightful tributes, and I hesitated writing this, wondering what I could add to the conversation. And that's part of why I included the quotes you see. Ultimately, there are so few artists whose death can make me feel that way. but I always knew that this one would. And in some way, big or small, I just needed to reflect. There will, quite legitimately, never ever be a filmmaker like David Lynch again. He left a lot of dreams behind for us. One's often tough to look at. If I learned anything from The Log Lady, it's that the sadness will end, but also that sometimes, let's say all times, things are changing.